Hello and welcome back. So today we are going to pot up my brand new little orchid here that I just received. I decided to buy myself the RENANTHERA monachica. Here we go. I purchased her from New World's Orchids. Thank you, Nina from Ninja's Orchids, for sending me the link on the orchid. But I purchased her because a couple of videos ago I mentioned that I had noticed I had reached 100 subscribers, and I think that's a pretty good milestone. I posted my first video, I believe January 24th, 25th, and 100 subscribers. I mean, it's taken some time, but that's okay. I'm doing this because I want to document my orchid journey as well as share it with others. But I decided to buy this cutie here, and I just got her today. So she has been soaking in some CalMag, and as you can see, let me get her in a little bit closer with that. As you can see, we've got some root issues here. We do have one nice root right here, and I think some of these might be viable, but most of them are nice and like they're hard, they just look bad. I'm going to salvage what I can. And so it does come from the Philippines. It is a likes humidity. I think it prefers like 85%. Obviously, I am not going to provide that here in my living room. I have an idea of how to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put her in a moss setup, because they also like their water. They're thirsty. They don't like to dry out. I was going to put her in a bark mix, and then the more I researched, the more I realized that would just not work out now. So I'm going to put her in a moss setup, and I'm going to put her also in this pot she came in. And I have washed and sanitized it. I've put some bark chips at the bottom. Like I said, I'm going to put her in moss, and then I'm going to set the basket in this decorative pot, and there's plenty of airflow. I've put rocks at the bottom, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep water at the bottom. And the reason I put the bark chips was to keep the moss from absorbing water so she doesn't stay too wet, and create additional humidity, just kind of make a little microclimate for her. So I'm hoping that that works. It is near blooming size, so obviously we're not expecting her to bloom anytime soon. Now this leaf is turning yellow and it looks like it is broken, but I'm just going to leave it and let her absorb it, just because her root system doesn't look all that great. So I want to give her all the nutrients that she can have for absorption. All right, I think that is all I'm going to do as far as the root cleanup. I don't want to do too much around that new root. Let me just spray with some hydrogen peroxide. Make sure she's all nice and cleaned up. And while she is fizzing, I will, you know what, I can just rinse her off in the CalMag mix over there. Just cut that little piece off right there. All right, so what I'm hoping for is that once she gets into the moss and kind of keeps her hydration, because she came with the moss that she was potted in was bone dry. So sorry about that. My supervisors are letting me know that someone just went out the door. But back to my monachica here. Lost my train of thought, but the moss that she was in was completely dry. She was in the male for about a week. So that was expected, because it has been rather hot here in the United States, across the country. So I'm just double checking, making sure I got everything off I want to get off. And she did come with this stick here, and I did clean the stick prior to putting her in her soak. And while that is soaking, let me clean her roots, her leaves. And all I do is I just spray some hydrogen peroxide on the cotton ball, and then I'm just going to wipe Just getting all the yucky off. I'm not going to wipe underneath. And her leaves are very, very firm. And then also she does have a new leaf growing right down there. So she is probably about 3-4 years off from blooming. Would be nice if she, you know, bloomed for me, I don't know, next year, but I doubt it. She's a few years off from blooming. I wanted to put her in an orchid top pot because I like the way that Nina's looks, and I was going to put it with moss, but I think she's a little too small for that just yet. And putting her in a moss mix in this basket, once she does get larger and I'm able to put her in that orchid top pot, then I will be able to just lift her out of the moss, clean the moss up, and put her back in moss. So I won't really be disturbing her too much. And now that that has fizzled, that is not any good. And again, the roots that she does have, they just look horrible, but I don't want to cut them all off because she doesn't have but that one new root showing. All right, that's got some stuff going on it. All right, well, let's get our moss. And let's get her in her new little home. And then we will have to check on her here in probably about a month or two, give her time to establish into her new home. And with putting her back in this basket, she's getting a lot of aeration because they do like air around their roots as well. And then this way she can also, if she wants to put those roots through the basket, she can. And that new root, I am going to try to have it in the moss as well, just so that it will, once it starts hydrating, it will encourage it to do so. Okay, I don't want the old roots to be sticking out though. Okay, she is an awkward little orchid. Let me take some of this back out and try this again because I want her in the center. I don't want her growing all off wanky. All right, there we go. I will be sure to keep this moss damp and not wet. I'm going to put her under a grow light because they do like a lot of light. They're highlight orchids. I won't be able to give her primo temperatures either, and I don't use heat mats, but between the grow light and the humidity that I'm going to try to create in the decorative pot, hopefully that will make her happy enough that she will grow for me. And depending on how she does, I might get more of these because I really think Renantheras are so cute. I think they're like the miniature angraecums. Angraecums, I understand, get huge. I just think they're so cute. All right, now I think that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to put her any, well, you know what, let me bring her up a little bit. Just a wee bit. And then I think what I'll do next year is try to grow her outside with my Vanda, because by then she will have kind of acclimated and I will have kind of learned her a little bit better and see how she does outside. I won't put her where she's going to get direct sun in the middle of the day, but I might have her where she's getting morning sun and maybe some afternoon sun. And then I'm going to top this off also at the top with some bark just to help keep the moss from getting algae buildup on it from the light, as well as keeping that moss moist longer. And I thought I had my bark chips close by. Yep, I do. There they are. All right, so let's top her off. So we've got bark at the bottom and bark at the top. So like I said, the bark at the bottom is to keep the moss from constantly absorbing the water because I don't want her to stay wet. I know they like to stay moist but not wet. So if I have the bark down here, then I can kind of control the moisture in the pot itself. And there she is. So we will put her tag in there, and I've already put today's date on it since I received her today, and I will just leave that on there. And I've got one of these more firm labels to use as well, because it just kind of helps hold it up a little bit better. Alrighty, there we go. So there's the Renanthera Monachica that I got to celebrate 100 subscribers. So how about in 100 days from now, we will look at her. I will figure out what that is, and I'll post the date once I edit the video, and then on that date, we will look at her again. So thank you again for coming over and watching another video. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by. And until the next one, we'll see you.